HR friends, welcome back. We're in the 4-5 emotional 6.5 day sequence. We're going to talk about day four. Day four is right here in this white rectangle. Now, we always start these forecasts out by talking about the entire electromagnetic sequence. Why is this sequence so important? Well, what happened is we figured out the sentient space time construct in which we exist in. And it's important to understand what sentient means. It means we're emotional beings. That's why we do these emotional sequences. Now, here's the tough part. We're actually designed to not really work through our emotions in positive ways. In fact, we have a negative feedback loop or a defensive system of control hardwired into our bodies. Now, it's super important to understand our defensive design because this electromagnetic pattern engages it. What do I mean? So, when this pattern starts to rise up, and four is kind of the middle point here. So, if we get to a level four and it stays above a four, it really manipulates our choices. You see, we're either going to do one of two things when our defensive nature or human nature is engaged. We're going to try to ignore or run away from our problems, or we're going to stand up and fight for our problems, which is going to make them worse. All right. Now, both of those strategies, what they do is they ensure that we endure stress. It makes stress, and stress is super important to eliminate because stress is what accelerates the aging process. It also is what leads to future states of disease, and it's why we die. Now, this pattern is predetermined, and we're all connected to this pattern a little differently, and how this pattern affects us as individuals will determine the stress that accelerates our aging and eventually causes us to have diseases and die. So, knowing this predetermined pattern can really be beneficial because what you can do is you can change your future. But to do that, one, you have to be aware of this pattern, which none of us were. That's why it's so important that we bring your awareness to this because here's the thing. Even when we show you that this pattern is going to elevate, whether it's at a zero or whether that it's at an eight, the higher it goes, the more it uses your feelings against you. It makes you feel something that then triggers your defensive design, and that trigger then fools you into making the stress that complicates your life. It's that simple. Now, day four is not going to be simple, and this is why. Look at so when we look at elevation, when you see a gap like this means there are strong frequencies that are in the middle of a polarity flip. That's what these are, polarity moments. And you see how this has just been going on for days. In fact, it's gone on for the first 3 days and it's going to come in to day four here. All right. And then you see how this drops off in a split second, but then boom, it pops up here. Now, what this is it's a dual mental polarity flip that's going to happen. When our mental rhythms are in a polarity flip, you're going to see that conflict goes up, that understanding doesn't seem to be there. We're going to lose our patience. We're going to lose our cool. We're going to jump to conclusions. And you're not only going to see this in your sphere of people that you live with, but if you watch the news and you see the bigger picture, you're going to see that conflict is going to accelerate during this day four exchange here. Okay. Now, weather patterns and all that is connected to this. We'll talk about that in other places on our website, but we're just trying to help you understand how individually and collectively this pattern is literally organizing the stress or the chaos that we're being forced to experience. Now, the second we decide to overcome this pattern and use our conscious thought to overcome the way we feel, we can start to smooth this out. Before we can do that, we need to show you how this one is affecting you. Now, for day four, again, this is going to be a red alert day. This is going to be a newsworthy day. Pay attention to that. So, why is this happening to us? Why are we designed to be defensive? Why is this pattern engaging our defensive design? Well, it wants to see if we can, one, understand what's happening to us, and two, figure out what it is we're supposed to be doing. So the purpose of life is kind of twofold here. First of all, you have to overcome your human nature or your defensive design. You see, human nature is flawed. It's designed for you to see it a certain way and feel a certain way, and everyone's designed to have a little bit different feelings. And what we end up doing is we end up fighting each other within our interconnected families. You see, this math creates a family. And every single person that exists in this interactive experience, well, they came into families either as sons and daughters. Now, because we've been designed defensive and we've been unable to get along with not only our family members, but our community members, you see, our communities are nothing but interconnected families. And again, don't be upset. We're not supposed to know this, not until the end. And at the end, when we figure this out, it doesn't make it any easier because we're still going to feel like we do. When that pattern excites our Defensive mechanisms, you can't stop how that feels, but what you can do is you can override it and say, I'm not going to fight with my family members anymore. I'm not going to fight with my community members anymore. I'm going to start to patch up and forgive people for what they did because really, honestly, they weren't doing it. We thought we were fighting each other. And really, what we're fighting is this pattern. And this pattern uses our feelings to get us to, guess what? Be in conflict. And it's been winning. How do you know? Look around. There's conflict everywhere. Now, if we want to solve this conflict, the first thing you got to do is one, overcome that pattern, which means you have to overcome your feelings. Does that mean that you shouldn't have feelings and you shouldn't listen to them? Absolutely, you should have feelings. And absolutely, you should take them into account. But if your feelings are convincing you to run away from your problems and ignore them, or if your feelings are convincing you to fight with people, then you're letting your feelings manipulate your choices. To help you understand how this works, we've really simplified this. You see, we're in a simulated experience, a mathematical construct. And this construct is made possible by frequency. So everything that exists is connected to these frequencies. And what we've done is we've shown how our individual bodies are connected to frequencies, and we split it into the 4 quadrants. And on either side of these quadrants, you can see there are team members, how we get along with the people that we share in this existence. And then on this side, these are the third person perspectives. Now, what are these third person perspectives about? Well, our team has to have a focus, right? If we're part of a team, well, what is our team supposed to be doing? And if we're all on the same team, well, we're not supposed to be fighting each other. We're actually supposed to be working together. What is it we're supposed to work to do? Well, if we want future families and future teams to have a better experience, then we are expected to have balanced routines that are going to take care of our environment. And it's going to leave our environment and it's going to leave our societies in a better place, or at least in a stable place for future generations. Now, look around. Our world is far from stable. Depending on which country you're born in, you have a vastly different experience. And everyone is starting to experience the fallout of our climate destabilizing. So, what this means is we just didn't realize what we were supposed to be doing as an interconnected team. Now, this is why you're going to want to do this as an individual. This is why you're going to want to commit to your team. And this is why you're going to want to change your routines. You see, these governing frequencies, they're not just teaching us, they're kind of telling us. And we can show you how we can predict where you're going to feel, because if you're out of balance, it's super easy to show you this. We know what frequencies are going to test us, when they're going to test us, and how they're going to make us feel if we're balanced versus if we're unbalanced. That's how easy this is. That's why we've divided this up. So, for example, people that are really having problems with the lower parts of their body, or people that are having problems with the upper parts of your body, what you're really having problems with is getting along with certain teammates in a positive, productive way where your defensive design isn't manipulating you, and you're having problems balancing your routine because your defensive design says, well, you got to take care of you before you worry about the people around you. It's designed to be tough. Now, there is a reward, okay? It's super important you understand this. All we get is rewards if we decide to learn. If we decide to be stubborn, if we decide to say, no, I don't have to get along with certain members. No, I'm just going to take whatever I can get as soon as I can get it and not worry about the people that come after me, then you're going to suffer. And it will catch you. There's no doubt about it. It is going to destroy your body. It's going to start to take away your experiences in an unpleasant way. And then when you die, you're just going to come back in here and you're going to do this again from a different perspective until you figure out how to do this. I don't know how else to say that to you. There's no way out of this. But if you do this, here's the good news. The second you decide to commit to your team, the second you decide to balance your routine, you slow aging to a crawl. You can actually, when you get into balance with these frequencies and you maintain it for the rest of your experience here until the day you die, you can literally reverse states of disease. You can create healing within your body. Now, you are eventually going to die, and when you do, as long as you've committed to this and everything you've committed to is about balance and leaving your families a better experience than what you had, then guess what? You get out of this negative feedback loop and you get to go to a positive feedback loop. Now, we discuss how this works. We show how this math creates 2 contrasting realities. We just happen to be in the negative side of it right now. And I'm trying to help you understand how to get out of the negative side, because this negative side really is all about suffering and not having so much fun. Now, I suppose you'll have to conclude that for yourself once we prove this to you, and that's what we're going to talk about now. This is day 4 zoomed in. So when we zoom in these 24-hour periods, what we're really doing is we're aligning the times of the day with all these peaks in the electromagnetics. Okay. And we've got it for all 24 time zones. So down here is where you'd find your time zone offset. Once you have the proper offset, this is going to hold for 10 seconds and you're going to screenshot this. Now, this is for people that don't have good internet. So when you're around internet, you'd come to our website, you'd find the right time zone offset, and you'd screenshot this. Now you have it all day long. If you've got great internet, you don't have to worry about not having internet. You just go to our homepage, healthreconnected.com. We have a live feed. You hit play on the live feed and a time bar comes up and shows you right where we are in this sequence. Now, this is how simple this is going to be. As long as you're willing to look, and we want you to look every time you feel uncomfortable, every time you're getting defensive, every time you see the people around you getting uncomfortable or getting defensive. And what you're going to see is you're going to see that it's happening when this pattern is elevated. You're going to see that it's going to be traversing along, and then all of a sudden someone's going to get agitated when this jumps up, and then when this jumps up again. And the more you check this and the more you see how we're being manipulated and we just didn't know it, and the more you see the defensive reactions that we're all doing, you'll understand why everyone just keeps fighting and why our problems seem to be getting worse and worse. You see, we're not designed to do good unless we decide we want to overcome the negative system of control that's manipulating us. Now, if we want to make a positive experience for future generations, first thing you got to do is confirm one, you're being manipulated. And then once you see how you're being manipulated, you got to work through your feelings. Now, day 4, I told you, it's going to be pretty tough. You see how this is extended right here? This is going to drop off, then it's going to pop up. And we talked about the number 4. When we look at the combined, we're at a 4 this entire sequence. Plus, we just came through 3 days of being at a 4. So people are going to be fatigued. People are going to be stressed out from the previous 3 days. Day 4 is going to be difficult, no doubt about it. All right. The second way we prove to you that you're in a sentient space-time reality is through these alignments. Again, every quadrant of the body we've connected to the frequencies that test us on the relationship. So these alignments are just testing us on how well we're either doing with our relationships or our routines. Now, the blue ones have to do with how we get along with our teammates. The purple ones have to do if our routines are balanced. So when the time bar progresses through these and you feel something, you'll be able to look at these charts and go, holy smokes, that's exactly where it's predicted that I'm going to hurt if I'm out of balance. And sure enough, I'm not getting along with those teammates. That's exactly how this confirmation process works. Now, the first one we're going to talk about here is this PE, okay? That's this hour-and-a-half alignment. It's the blue alignment, so this is on the space side. This is going to test how well we get along with the younger members of the team. The lower part of the body, that's the younger members. The upper part of the body, that's the older members of the team. Now, it doesn't matter if they're younger, if they're older, if they're masculine, or if they're feminine. You're going to have to figure this out. You're going to have to figure out how to communicate with them in a positive way. You're going to have to figure out how to cooperate with them. You're going to have to figure out how to help them through their stress, no matter their age or their gender. And most importantly, you're going to have to be able to talk to them about how they're balancing their routines and share with them how you're balancing yours and encourage each other to work together to make sure future generations are going to be better off because of your cooperative effort. Now, I'm saying this because it shouldn't matter who we're being tested on, whether it's testing the lower or the upper. Now, if you have problems in this lower left quadrant, during this alignment. So when the time bar comes through here, it is specifically saying that you're not very good with the younger members of the team. And it'll let you know by telling you you're not going to feel well. Something's going to hurt in this quadrant or something unfortunate's going to happen as this time bar is going through there. That's how it works. Okay. So the next one we're going to talk about is this EE. All right. And we're going to talk about the little blue one here first. All right. So same thing. We're talking about relationships. Nothing's changed. Got to communicate, got to cooperate, got to alleviate stress, and got to talk about routines and work together to balance the future. All right. Now, if you hurt in this one, you're going to hurt in this upper left quadrant. And specifically, it's letting you know that the older or more mature members of the team seem to be more difficult for you than the younger members. Now, it's possible you're going to hurt in both these places. And that, again, is just confirmation. So if you're wondering why your body kind of has pain that shifts around where your neck's sore in the morning and then your low back sore later in the night, watch this pattern and we're going to confirm this for you. All right. The next one we're going to talk about is this EE. Now, this is a time alignment. It's this purple one right here. This is also going to be testing upper extremity. Okay. So now when we're talking about the time side, we're talking about, are we balancing our routines? And there are going to be a lot of people that are going to have problems with the upper body. This has to do with national and world routine. The lower parts of the body have to do with individual and family routine. At the national and the world level, we can see there's imbalance. We can see that nations aren't getting along. We can see and feel and experience the weather catastrophes that are happening. And this is happening because so many people are out of balance up here. Do not be surprised if you get headaches, concentration problems, visual changes, any kind of musculoskeletal pain in these upper quadrants. And specifically during this alignment, you're going to feel it primarily on the right side. That's a direct hit that you need to be more aware of how you're contributing to a larger picture for future generations. The more unbalanced your approach is at the larger level to bring our nation and our world together. So if you're not so worried about that, but you're worried about the nation you live in, and it's important that you have the advantage, the more unbalanced you want it to be, the faster this is going to be destroyed up here. That's just how that works. All right, so the last one we're going to talk about is this PE down here, okay? And there's two of them here. They're both 45 minutes long. And this is what they're going to test. They're going to test, again, routines in this upper quadrant. Now, this isn't just going to be on the right side. If you're out of balance with world and national view, you're actually going to feel it on both the right and left side. Again, this is low-hanging fruit. This is when it's easy to point out. Now, this is when it's amplified. All the other times of the day, you're being tested. I promise you, these are just the easiest ones to point out and the easiest way to help you confirm this. That's why we do it. All right, so let's run through this quick too. This is the testing sequence for the day. And the testing sequence just shows how many frequencies are in each quadrant during any moment in time. So as the time bar goes through here, you can actually reference this and you can see, again, 4 is kind of that midway point. So if it's below 4, it's not so heavy. If it's above 4, it becomes heavier. Left upper quadrant, below a 4, first 12 hours, second 12 hours, above a 4. Upper right quadrant, pretty much at that 4 or just below that 4 the entire sequence. Lower left quadrant at the 4, above the 4, then comes back down below it. Right lower quadrant below the 4 the entire time. So just looking at this chart, you can already tell that left lower and upper left are going to be the two areas that are going to be tested a little bit heavier, okay? So in this 24 hours, if you feel more on your left side of your body, it's just because these specific relationships are being tested heavier. Now, these two graphs show where the strongest frequencies are going to sit for the next 24 hours. And where these sit really sets the tone. And you can see the imbalance here, right? Look on the first person. This has to do with teammates. So the strong ones are all stacked up on the left side. Now, when we compare this over on the third person side, we've got 2 on the left, we've got 3 on the right, all right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the left total, and we've got 3 on the right total. So in this 24-hour period, much more likely that people are going to be feeling it on the left because there's just more testing happening on the left. Now, if you happen to get right-sided pain during this next 24 hours, this is what's cool about this. You know it's your routines. You see, there are no strong frequencies for this 24-hour period that are going to test how we're getting along with teammates. But there are 3 that are going to be testing how balanced our routines are. Now, in these other quadrants on the left side, what we do is we'd have you document what you feel and when you feel it because, well, what do you want to work on first? Are you having more trouble with your teammates or are you having more trouble balancing your routines? Now, we do this because we want you to have the quickest strategy to the best health as fast as possible. The truth is this, don't overcomplicate it. Commit to your team, balance your routines, everything has to change, and it can't happen until, well, you decide to do that. All right, so let's keep moving here. Last thing we're going to talk about is what we've done for the rest of 24 is posted. So 2024, the electromagnetics, again, predetermined pattern. And if you watch this pattern, you're going to see when it rises, so does social tension, so do weather events. When this pattern subsides, so does social tension, so does weather events. That's how that works. And once you start to see that, what we're really doing is empowering you to eliminate the stress that it's affecting you. This pattern is affecting you and the people around you. The sooner you don't let this pattern manipulate you, the sooner you're going to feel better and do better, and as well as all the people you're with. Now, 1 or 2 people overcoming this pattern makes no difference. But we get nations of people overcoming this pattern, and we can change everything. We can make everything better. We can help everyone get healthy. We can help our environment get healthy. We can create social structure that's going to become healthy and beneficial to all of us. That's what Health Reconnected is here to do. See you in the next 24 hours.